again, talk about legacy sequels that I didn't think would ever exist. Freakier Friday. This once again stars Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan in a big comeback for her. And this takes place 2 decades after the 2003 cult favorite. And Tess and Anna discover their past may be repeating with the next generation, with Anna's daughter Harper and soon-to-be stepdaughter Lily, who are not the best of friends in the slightest. And I'm not going to spoil exactly what happens, but if it's a Freakier Friday, it means there's going to be a freakier identity crisis. And albeit a much more complicated identity crisis. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering what my thoughts on the original Freaky Friday are. I think it's a very, very fun family movie. It was right at the peak of Lindsay Lohan's popularity, with Parent Trap and Mean Girls also surrounding it. And since the mid-2000s, Lindsay Lohan has kind of been out of the public eye, especially in terms of Hollywood. I mean, she's been in the public eye for wrong reasons. But lately, here she is making a bit of a comeback for herself. And I think with celebrities like her, and especially also with celebrities like Macaulay Culkin, they are living embodiments of the phrase, everybody deserves a second chance. And you know what? I, for one, am glad she's getting it, because she was one of the most popular child stars, especially of my era when I was growing up. And she is once again pretty good as Anna in this movie. Although I do think taking away her rebellious nature in this script is a bit of a diversion away from what the character originally was. It's all about character arcs though, right? How different are these people going to be at the beginning than they would be at the end? And you know, you also got to talk about Jamie Lee Curtis, who at this point is a legend. She also has an Oscar win to her name, especially since the first Freaky Friday came out. And I would argue that she was probably the funniest part of that original movie in 2003. And here she is, and she is just as funny as she ever has been. And I think a big strength of this sequel is the comedy. And a lot of it is built off of the nostalgia burst that you get. And I'm not going to spoil anything in this video. I'm going to save spoiler thoughts for a video I'm going to do with Lindsay on the second channel. But when certain characters pop up, it made me very happy. And I couldn't help but grin. But I feel like that might also be where the movie's biggest issue lies. I don't want to say it's too reliant on the nostalgia, but if this movie was not a Freaky Friday movie, if this thing was not built on the fact that you have seen the original, it's probably one of the lesser movies of the year, for sure. Because I mentioned the identity crisis and the body swap that happens in this. When that scene actually happens, I was looking at it and I was like, huh? How do these two characters especially connect with one another? I mean, I get why you couldn't just have the one obvious pair-off in this, because it would be deemed a rehash of the original, and nobody wants that. But if you're going to do something different with this story blueprint, at least have it make sense. And I was very scared when that body swap happened. I was like, this is not going to be it for me. Especially when you consider the writing in this movie. If you thought that the 2003 version was dated, well, with what they called modern speak back in 2003, the House of Blues sponsorship. When's the last time anybody's been to a House of Blues anyway? Are they still in business? But here we are. There's a scene that literally takes place in a Starbucks. Jamie Lee Curtis's character is shopping for senior goods in Walgreens at one point. The product placement in this movie was borderline annoying. And as confusing as I found that body swap initially when I first saw it on the big screen, the deeper you get into this movie, the more it makes sense. And there is no way that I can call Freakier Friday one of the worst movies of the year, because it definitely, especially towards the second half, it redeems itself wholeheartedly. I have never been through an experience in a movie theater like this, where a movie just completely flips a 180 and completely goes to a whole ass redemption arc on its own. It was a pretty neat experience to see, albeit with the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are returning together as the mother and daughter pair that we all loved. And the chemistry they share is still existent, guys. It is still so good. I can't really sit here and say that there's a weak link in the acting department, especially with your two leads. Manny Jacinto is here as the fiance of Lindsay Lohan in this. You might remember him as the mute guy who turns into the biggest Jaguars fan in the world on The Good Place. Really, really funny guy. You also might remember him from The Acolyte. Most people try not to remember The Acolyte. But no, as predictable as this movie might be, as cliche-ridden as this movie is, there is a Lyra Reveal cliche that is very forced. I can't deny I was having fun with this movie by the end. And if you're a hardcore fan of Freaky Friday especially, you're going to notice a lot of Easter eggs with not just the cameos, but the soundtrack in here. Lots of great stuff going on. And I think if you're a Disney fan, if you want a good family outing, this is probably a good ticket for you to get. I'm going to give Freakier Friday a B-. Can't sit here and say that it's better than the 2003 version. Actually, I can't sit here and say that it's better than the original one that I actually, believe it or not, have not seen. I've only seen the 2003 version. It's crazy. But let me know what you thought of this down in the comments section. Which Freaky Friday version did you grow up with? Did you get a big nostalgia burst from this one? Is this your first experience with a Freaky Friday? I love getting in front of this camera and talking all things cinema with you guys on the regular. Hit that subscribe button if you're new and tap that thumbs up as well, please. Especially if you want to see more great content from me. I've got a lot of great stuff coming in the pipeline. Thank you again so much for your patience with me as I navigate certain stuff going on in my life. Certain changes are happening. I'm also in a show right now, which makes me very, very busy in the evenings. So thank you again so very much for your continued support of this channel. Really, really does mean the world. So with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.